Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra, aka Hidden Agendas. Today, this story I want to share with you is so important because it shows you a microcosm. It's a microcosm of how our world really works, of why we don't have a green economy. This is from Northeast Public Radio, titled, "Will any of the environmental bills in the New York State Legislature become law this year?" By Karen DeWitt of May 8th of 2024. I mean, this is a real news story. And I don't care if you listen to public radio all day or Fox News all day. These are the kind of stories you ain't hearing much of. But I guarantee you, if you're listening to Fox News all day, these are the kind of stories you probably ain't hearing nothing about. Well, the first thing, I just want to grab a quote from New York State Senator Liz Krueger, who I am assuming is a Democrat. And she said something like, if we don't get these bills right, if we don't get climate change right, nothing else matters. That's the truest words I have heard from any American politician. Yet, who in the HK-kahungus has heard her say that? New York or anywhere else? Few.
Because if we don't get this right, it doesn't matter what else you want. It doesn't matter whether you think you're coming and talking about your kids' education or mass transit or healthcare policy or insurance policy. If we don't have a planet to live on, none of this matters.
Well, these three environmental bills that are stalled out in this New York legislature. One, the Climate Change Superfund Act. Wow, we should all heard about that one, but we didn't. It would create a $3 billion a year fund to address climate change paid for by the oil companies. And it did not advance in the New York Assembly. Next, the New York Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act. Wow, what a great name, because we're all lacking in recycling infrastructure across the US of A, ain't we? Well, that there bill would cut plastic pollution by 50% eventually, outlaw something called chemical recycling, which I believe is like they melt down the plastics and all kinds of toxic fumes are released, and it's a pretty bad idea. Well, that there bill is stalled in the Senate's Finance Committee. Even a measly little measure to expand New York's bottle law. New York State's got one of those states where you can return bottles and get money back for them. Well, that measly little measure to expand bottle law is also stuck in the Senate. Last, but really important, the New York Heat Act. One of the things Karen DeWitt pointed out, this act would prohibit utilities or the gas companies from charging ratepayers, I believe, for the installation of new gas lines within 100 feet of homes or businesses. So that's where some of this, they're trying to ban gas, is coming from, because they just don't want us, the taxpayers or the ratepayers, to keep subsidizing new gas infrastructure. At a time when our planet is superheating and is already pumped full of carcinogens, greenhouse gases, and toxins from these industries, fracking chemicals. So what in HK-kahungus is going on around here? How come none of us heard about these bills, whether we're in New York State or elsewhere, and why are they all stalled out? Well, partner, I bet dollars of donuts you got a good intuitive sense of what's going on here. Karen pointed out in her article the plastics and chemical industries oppose that their Plastics Reduction Act. And while she didn't say it, I'm going to deduce that oil industry influences, and maybe gas industry influence as well, oppose that climate bond or that super fund, because they got to pay for it. In a way, they're being said, hey, y'all are responsible. And they're saying, we ain't responsible, despite all the lobbying we do and all the money we give to politicians and all the disinformation we paid for, we ain't responsible. And that New York Heat Act, well, that thing, among other stuff, also contains, I believe, subsidies or help for geothermal heat pumps, a great energy-saving way, one of the most efficient ways to heat and cool a home, one of the most environmentally friendly ways I ever heard of. Well, that's a big threat to the gas industry. And they're big, man. They're really big. Public radio, I hear ads on there, so-called ads, because they don't do ads on public radio, saying things like, better plans, no bans. Okay, so, and that they're coming from the gas industry. Better plans, no bans. Don't ban us gas. Well, that's why we don't have nice things, as they say. And at the political level, you already get these industries, oil, gas, petrochemicals, they're given tons and tons of money. Then what you may or may not know is there are some smaller, trying to be green, sustainable businesses out there. Well, those folks were there lobbying in Albany, and they got a picture of them looking really sad at the article. And here the article listed like Seventh Generation, who you might have heard of, as well as sustainable furniture and cosmetic manufacturers. How can you argue with that, making things more sustainably? Oh, it's a big plot, big green plot. Well, what about the party breakdown? Karen didn't get into that, but I'm going to imagine it's the typical. Well, what is the typical? Is you got these handful of brave, greener Democrats standing up to a coalition of corporate Democrats, as Bernie Sanders would call them, or his movement would, and Republicans who have been just opposing all these environmental protections the whole way through because they're totally in the pockets of those industries. And that, my friend, is why this article, and I hope my breakdown of it, is so important, because it's a microcosm of how this whole planet's working. The whole political capitalist system is working, all manipulated, all a setup, all aimed at holding down greener, less polluting alternatives. Everything could be totally different, and our media is ignoring all of it, and that's why everything isn't totally different. So if you found this analysis helpful, interesting, hey, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure you clicked that notification bell so you know when I'm putting up a new video. Make sure you're liking, commenting. All that should help push it up in the algorithms. And please, please join my couple patrons at Patreon. This show is so much work. It came at a massive opportunity cost to me. I could really appreciate it. If you did that, I get it. The Patreon page doesn't have a lot going on right now, but we all got stuff going on in our lives. This is a volunteer effort, basically. And as always, mon ami, peace be with you.